Is the prosecution ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the defense ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Let the trial begin. The story of the McCulloch versus Maryland court case begins with the founding of the nation of itself. During the presidency of George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, the Secretary of Treasury and a Federalist at the time, wished to create a national bank. Within his charter, Hamilton wrote that the bank would stabilize and improve the nation's credit. When Democratic Republicans James Madison and Thomas Jefferson became aware of Hamilton's plans, they were outraged.
A letter from Congress.
I wonder what it says. Let me see it, Jefferson.
Here you go, Madison.
They want to establish a national bank?
What?
Signed
Alexander Hamilton.
Where's Hamilton?
This cannot stand.
So Hamilton, I see you've created a national bank.
Oh yes. Yes, I have.
Do you realize the Constitution does not give you this authority?
Yes, I do realize. However, it also specifically does not say that I can't create a national bank.
Do you realize what the implications of creating this national bank would entail?
Yes, it would allow us to have a credit score, which would allow us to get money from other countries.
Do you think that Congress would so easily approve such a thing?
Yes. Yes, I believe they will.
Only Congress will decide.
Yes. Yes, they will.
Despite Jefferson and Madison's efforts, the National Bank was approved by Congress in 1791. However, when James Madison became president, he, along with Congress, refused to renew the bank's charter, and it was the end for the Bank of the United States. Though this only lasted 5 years, since in 1816, James Madison re-established the National Bank to deal with debt from the War of 1812. This leads us to the incident between James McCulloch, the owner of the National Bank, and the state of Maryland. In an attempt to weaken the bank, Maryland placed a tax on it.
Is this a bank of the United States?
Yes, the United States located in Maryland. Can I help you?
I would like to inform you of some recent taxes you have accumulated.
Taxes. Who exactly is taxing me?
The state of Maryland.
So the state of Maryland has imposed taxes on a federal institution.
Yes. As the state of Maryland, we have the right to impose taxes on any business we see fit. And even though you are a federal business, we still have the right, we will still exercise that right.
Well, as I understand it, states are allowed to impose taxes on institutions throughout their borders, but not federal institutions. As of right now, I'm going to ask you to take these taxes back, because I'm not going to pay them. You're presented here.
Well then, I'll see you in court.
See you there.
Your Honor, my client and I are suing James McCulloch for not paying the tax imposed upon the National Bank. The Maryland State Legislature wrote this tax for any bank not chartered within the state, and the National Bank meets this criteria. Under the concept of federalism, as mentioned in the 10th Amendment of the Bill of Rights of the Constitution, any power not specifically delegated to Congress goes to the states and the people. The National Bank exists within the borders of the state of Maryland, and it is a private business. Thus, the state of Maryland has the right to collect taxes from this property. Not to mention, the bank itself goes against the ideals of the Constitution. Nowhere in the Constitution does it state that the federal government has the right to establish such a bank. As a result, the institution itself is corrupt and must be shut down. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, according to Article 6 of the Constitution, the federal government has the power to make any laws necessary and proper to the enforcement of the powers that the Constitution gives the federal government. Even mentioned in Alexander Hamilton's document of broad interpretation, the federal government has the power to make laws that are not necessarily mentioned in the Constitution itself. And by these principles, the state has no right to impede, retard, or nullify federal laws by means of taxation or anything of the sort. Which not only does this give the federal government the right to establish a national government, but the state of Maryland does not have the right to impose taxes upon said federal bank.
Order in the court. Verdict has been reached. 2 decisions have been made. 1. Congress does have the authority to create a national bank. In Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, the necessary and proper clause, Congress has the right to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers. Basically, an action does not have to be specifically mentioned in the Constitution for it to be justified. If an act is essential for the country, it can be passed. 2. Maryland cannot tax the national government. Under the Supremacy Clause, federal law is superior to state law. The power to tax involves the power to destroy. Therefore, federal government has the upper hand under the Supremacy Clause, which makes the bank that was constitutionally created under the Necessary and Proper Clause superior to the state authority. Court has been adjourned.
Good business?
Yeah, thank you, sir.
McCulloch had won, and the necessary and proper as well as supremacy clauses have continued to be topics of debate throughout history. In fact, this was seen only 16 years later with the nullification crisis.
Mr. President, what is the meaning of this? This tariff. It's an abomination.
How dare you barge into my office? These tariffs are necessary and proper to maintain the well-being of the U.S. economy.
If you don't revoke these tariffs right now, our state has the right to nullify and secede from the Union.
Everybody knows the federal government has power over the states. Even the Supremacy Clause states that the federal government has ultimate power in creating laws.
The issue over state and federal power continues until this day. There is debate over issues such as healthcare, marijuana, and gun rights. McCulloch v. Maryland was a highly influential case that had wide-reaching effects on American history.